In today's bike review, we're having a look at old reliable, the DR-Z400. Now we know Suzuki haven't made many changes to this bike in the last few years. Bold new graphics is one of them. But this is a lot different. They've put the bike down to Chad at Chad's Off-Road. Now Chad's done a few modifications that I would think for the enduro rider out there or the trail bike rider, these are the modifications you might want to make to your stock standard DR-Z400 and really turn it in to that sweet enduro bike. Now rather than me go through the changes, let's see what Chad's got to say.
Just getting it, a few things we've done to get it sorted out, make it a little bit more dirt worthy. The tyres we've fitted onto the DR-Z are the MX32 on the front, and then the Extra X has gone on the rear. The protection we've put on the bike, both the Suzuki bash plate and radiator braces, are hard parts catalogue items from Suzuki. Great all-round protection, still allow plenty of airflow through the radiators. And then the other thing we've also been working on is obviously ergonomics of the bikes with some rental bars and rental grips as well. Basically with the suspension, what we've done, we've gone through service and revalved both ends. What we've done with the valving is we've given a little bit more control in the fork with what we call a speed sensitive mid valve in the fork. With the shock, what we've done is given a little bit more high speed control in the shock. So basically on the bigger hits, it'll just hold itself up a bit. And basically what you've got is a shock that's a little bit more racy. And the other thing is also with the rear shock is getting the back of the bike to hold up better. So it actually makes the bike steer a lot better.
Well, I've just come back from riding the DR-Z400. The lounge chair of the bush is what I call this thing. Of course, that's all changed now because Chad's made some modifications to the suspension and also the front forks with revalving. So what does that actually mean? Well, it still has the DR-Z plushness. It's still nice and plush, but what the suspension now does is it just sits up so it drives through everything. If you want to turn, it turns a lot sharper. Now, also what helps that is these tyres. With the Pirelli MX32 mid-soft at the front, that thing makes it turn and grip. And of course with the Extra at the back, you still got that grip, but the beauty about the Extra X is that it lasts a lot longer. You're going to get a few more rides out of that back tyre with still enough grip to ride around in a bush like this. What does it mean taking one tooth off the front sprocket of this bike? Sure, you get a lot more bottom end, so that means you've got a bit more drive coming out of the corners, but what I found is it actually revs out a lot quicker. So you're going through gears a little bit quicker. You can actually run it in probably a gear higher and maybe give it a bit of clutch and you can walk around the bush, no worries like that. Open it up and this thing still gets going. It certainly is, but a little bit easier to ride in the bush. You still got that DR-Z plushness. It just smashes through things. It's so much fun. And it's ideal for things like this. You do a little bit of sort of single trail and then you come on and do a bit of roads. Putting the Renthal handlebars on it. Look, I like this bend that they've got on here. It makes it more comfortable. That's about all that it does. Could you ride with the stock bars? Of course you can. But these bars are probably going to hold up a little bit more if you do have an accident in the bush. They won't bend and you won't feel so uncomfortable riding back home. Now the Suzuki OEM bash plate that they've put on the bike, that works fantastic. It's going to obviously give the engine a lot more cover. The one thing you notice about this though is when you hit a stick or a rock, you hear that bash plate. It really is loud. There's no doubt about that, but you know it's doing its job. One thing I do to it is get the carby dialed in as well. That'll be the next thing, is really get that carby tuned in. Go to your local carby tuner and get it sorted. So the DR-Z400 is Australia's highest selling dirt bike, and there's a reason for that. They are absolutely value for money, a great bike. But in saying that, if you do get your hands on one, I highly recommend making the modifications that we've made to this bike. It really does step it up that notch, and it's not a lot to spend on it to make it just that little bit better bike than what it already is.